Everyone, RG with RG Fam Games here with a special video for you. Today we have the Super Nintendo $100 challenge. This is a video response to a video that I saw from Do You Nerd, Tom and Lacey. I think they got the video from somewhere else, or the idea from somewhere else, so it's going around. So I saw it, I loved it, I had to do it, and now I want to do this for like every system because this just seems so much fun. So purpose of the video is to use price charting, and if you had $100 to start a Super Nintendo collection, what games would you get? What games would how would you start that collection with that $100? So obviously the cool thing is different people want think about it different ways, and I like Tom and Lacey, they cheated a little bit. They they didn't cheat, but they went they had to throw an import in there, and that was kind of a neat little trick to keep the price down, which I thought about doing, but no imports on my list. So without further ado, if I had $100 and I didn't have any Super Nintendo games, these are the games that I would get. Some of the games on this list I actually do own. Some of these games on my list I don't, but hope to someday. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first game, now if I'm going to start a collection, if I could curate a collection, I want to have games of different genres, okay? Now, I know these aren't for everybody, but I do have some sports games in here, so I'm going to start with those first. The very first game is Jimmy Connors Pro Tour Tennis. This game prices out right now. These are all loose game prices because Super Nintendo, you rarely have the box copies. So a loose copy of Jimmy Connors Pro Tour Tennis is $9.09. I'm going to have all the tallies at the end so we can add them all up. Jimmy Connors Pro Tour Tennis was cool because it has different courts. It's actually like a career mode. I rented the game more than once and would play it an entire weekend. It's challenging. It's not easy, but it's simple enough you want to keep playing and you want to master it. So I love Jimmy Connors Pro Tour Tennis. I recommend it to anybody. I have a soft spot in my heart for tennis games for some reason, even going back to the Atari 2600 tennis. I just always liked tennis games. Never played it in real life, but I like the video games. So Jimmy Connors Pro Tour Tennis is my number one pick. Again, this is not in order of preference. This is just the order that I decided. I split them up into categories. So like I said, we're starting out with sports. So game number 2 on the list is Tecmo Super Bowl. I actually do own this game. It is complete in box. I've shown it on a prior video. Someday I'm going to have shelves here and I can everything. But Tecmo Super Bowl, if you are starting a collection, you need this game. This game is the best football game. It's better than any 8-bit game. It's the best of the 16-bit area. It's arguably better than any 32-bit game for all practical purposes. It's that good. It's arcade. It's got real rosters. It has stats. You can do seasons. But anybody can pick up this game and play it. It's one of the greatest games of all time. Have to have it, and it's affordable. It's only $13.20 for a loose copy. So if you see a loose copy, I highly recommend it. Okay. Now, next up, that's all I got for sports games. Just the 2. Don't worry. Next up, I wanted kind of an action or shooter game, but I like my games with stories. Stories are important. So I couldn't just do any kind of shoot 'em up or anything like that. What I got instead is Wing Commander. Wing Commander is a space flight sim, but it has a story to it. It has its own kind of world. I love the Wing Commander series growing up. Wing Commander Secret Missions, Wing Commander 2, and then when you got to the 32-bit systems and the full motion video with Mark Hamill himself, Wing Commander 3 and Wing Commander 4, amazing. I don't have those right now, but I'm looking out for the long boxes for those. But anyway, Wing Commander for the Super Nintendo It's only $9.21 loose if you can find it. I just got one in a VGM box or a retro game treasure box a few months ago, so I was very excited. But Wing Commander, great space flight sim. You know, it's better than the Top Guns or some of the others. It's really great. Love it. So, Wing Commander. Next, I'm actually gonna have Super Mario World. We're gonna do some platforms here. You gotta have Super Mario World. I wanted to do what Tom did, where he did the Super Mario World and the All Stars, but that game was like $30 loose, and I need some more games in my collection here to start out. So I went with just Super Mario World. It is amazing. I still would rate Super Mario 3 ahead of Super Mario World. A lot of people like Super Mario World more than Super Mario 3. But I mean, it's amazing either way. Truth be told, I still have never beaten this game. I've still never beat Super Mario 3. I just haven't. Get really far. I can get almost to the end, but I've never beat either of those games. Someday. Super Mario World by itself, loose, is only going for $16.39, so that's very affordable, and it allows me to get some extra games. Whereas if I would have went the All-Star route, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So, next one is also a platformer, and I don't care how hard it is, you gotta have in your collection, and that is Super Star Wars. Super Star Wars, when it came out, was the best Star Wars game I'd ever played. The sound, the stereo sound, it was so much better than the 8-bit games or any game that came before it. Even just the intro was like, oh my god, this is Star Wars. And you jumping, flipping around. Again, it can be cruel. The sand crawler is hard. Oh, it's just a hard game. It's Nintendo hard, but it's the sound in it was so good, and the graphics for the time were just, it was amazing. I love Super Star Wars. It's one of the, it's not a guilty pleasure because it really is a really strong game, and I like that. More nostalgic for than I have for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Super Star Wars for a loose copy, $14.12, so not too bad. Next up, you need to have a racing game if you're going to start a collection, and the racing game that I chose is Top Gear. Top Gear is fun. The controls are good, the graphics are good. It's just this is a game that surprised me. I think it surprised a lot of people because it's made by Kemco. Who the hell is Kemco? And it's just it is a very, there were a lot of games in the Super Nintendo era that had generic boxes, and that box is that cover art right there, that is as generic as it gets. And then you kind of look at the back, and the back looks kind of generic. It doesn't look special, but then you play the game and you're like, oh, this is a lot of fun. and as the box states, you could play 2 players simultaneously, so you could race your friends, which that's what you did back then. You didn't have to have people with their own systems and online. You could actually play on the same console. You could play split screen. It was amazing. Imagine. They should do more of that. So, Top Gear is only selling for $10.61 loose. So, highly, highly recommend Top Gun in your collection. I got 2 more games. Now, this next one is just because I'm trying to squeeze that $100. So honestly, I got to $98, and then I was like, can I get anything more? Can I squeeze anything in there? There's one choice. It's Vegas Stakes. So a casino game, it's not special, but it's out there. I actually own a box. I own a complete in copy box copy of this. I saw it somewhere. It was cheap enough for a complete in box. I was like, why not? I'll just get it. I would rent it. I used to play casino games. So there you have it. So Vegas Stakes, you can get a loose copy of this for $2.69. So we got 1 game left. We got sports games. We got a shooter game. We got a couple platformers. We got a racer. We got a casino game. The one thing we're missing, besides an RPG, and we all know RPGs. We could include maybe one, and you blow your whole budget. So again, I'm trying to get the most bang for my buck here, and there are no RPGs that could do it. You could have maybe squeezed Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past in here, and I thought about it, but I was like, I want more games. Um, and Link to the Past is affordable. It's not too expensive. Same with Donkey Kong Country. Also, good game, great game. Everybody should have it, but for the list and for how much it was, I left it off the list. So since we can't get an RPG in here, we need a strategy game. And while I liked, again, going back to Tom's video, Tom and Lacey's videos, they had SimCity. SimCity is cool. SimCity 2000 is even better. And I almost included SimCity 2000 on this list, but that also kind of blew the budget. I think that was going for like $30. It was just too much. So I'm going with the greatest strategy game on the Super Nintendo. One of my all-time favorites. If you watch the channel, you should know this is coming. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 2. This is one of my all-time favorite series. Number 2 is one of my all-time favorite games. Again, I would rent this game and we would play it all weekend, stay up till 5 a.m. in the morning, sleep, leave your thing on if you couldn't save it. You can have as many players as you want. Not as many players, but you can have 8 players, I think, maybe even more. Basically, it's like if you were to play Civilization in domination mode, where you control a few territories or whatever, or it's like Risk maybe, where eventually you have to take over all of China. You have to unify. It's funny because they use the word unify China, but you're taking them over by force. So you have to recruit generals. You got to train your armies. You got to do all this kind of stuff. There's some espionage stuff that can be done. It's an amazing series. If you were to just watch somebody play it, it'd probably be boring to watch somebody play the game. It does take a while for you to understand it and to get into it. I rented these games a couple times before I even had any idea what I was doing with it. As you saw in the last video here, I have this just because it's next to me. I have Romance of the Three Kingdoms 1 that I got for Nintendo. I own Romance 3 complete in box for Super Nintendo. I don't own 2 yet. I need to so bad. I'll get it one of these times. I've seen it at cons, but then for some reason I got other stuff. But amazing strategy game. I recommend it to everyone if you can stand a thoughtful, long. There's no action in it. It is a turn-based strategy game. It requires a lot of micro management of your troops and your provinces and all this kind of stuff. But it's my favorite. Romance of the Three Kingdoms 2 loose copies are going for $25.62, so that's not too bad. And what that means for our budget, let's talk about this. I don't do post edits. I do all my stuff live. So here we go. All these added up equals $193. So I was thinking, oh, you went over. All right, well let's talk about this for a second. Okay, let's just pretend one of these games, we'll say Jimmy Connors or Top Gear or Vegas Stakes. Maybe it doesn't have a great label. Maybe the label's a little muffled. So then you get a little bit off, which would have got us under the $100. So, that's what's happening in my mind. So in my mind, I'm getting all this for $100 at $100.93. So, let me know what you think. Have you played any of these games? Do you like any of these games? Let's see your video responses. I'm gonna watch everybody who makes a video on this. I think it's a fun topic. I think we should do all the systems. This was a lot of fun to do. So let's see your lists. Have yourself a wonderful day. We'll see you next video. Bye.